Okay, fifth graders. Yeah, I wish I was there with you guys, but that's not gonna happen. So, and I don't know if you guys were taught this today or not, but I'm just gonna assume that you were not, and you'll be watching this video today, and it's 8-6. And really it's all about finding the area of a rectangle. And I think most of you know what that is, because we've talked about that before. Area equals length times width. And so I've got several examples here we can briefly look at. If you needed to find the area for number 1 here, okay, it's going to be simply 5 times 2, length times width. So 5 times 2 equals 10. Now 10's not the answer when we're talking about area. So it's 5 feet by 2 feet. So it's 10 feet squared. Or you could write it 10 feet squared using the exponent symbol. That would work also. Now for 2 and 3 and 4, it's done the same way. Just remember that it's going to be the unit length. In this case, it's yards for number 2. And then for number 3, it's centimeters. And number 4, it's feet again. So it's going to be square yards or square centimeters or square feet. And so you guys can do 2, 3, and 4 on your own. And we'll see if you guys can figure those out. Let's look at the example they give us here. And I don't know, I kind of think that they make it a little more confusing than they should. I'm looking at step 1 and step 2, and so they're just talking about this area here. So it's 1/3 times 1/4, and so then it looks like they increase the area to include all of this here. So instead of 1/3, it's going to be 2/3, and they kind of represent it there. And so then the area of, and this gal's garden here is 10/12 square yards. I think they make it more difficult than they needed to. So let's look at the very original picture here. It's 2/3 of a yard and 5/4 of a yard. So it's going to be 2/3 times 5/4. Length times width. That's the formula for area. Okay? And so 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 4 is 12. Look at that. It's the same answer. But remember, it's not just 10/12. You need to label it. 10/12 yards squared. Okay? All right. The convince me Mason has a rectangular garden that is 2/3 yard by 7/4 yards long. What's the area of his garden? It's going to be 2/3 times 7/4. 2 times 7 is 14. 3 times 4 is 12. And so that's going to be 14/12 yards. Again, we're talking about yards squared. Or you could put 14/12 yards and then put a square like that. Either one is fine. Now, of course, most of you probably have recognized that 14/12 is an improper fraction. And so they seem to be leaving them as improper fractions. I personally would have written it as, well, 12 goes into 14 once. There's 2 left over. The denominator stays the same. So that's 1 2/12 of a yard squared. which would be reduced down to 1 1/6 yard squared. But they seem to be leaving them as improper fractions, and so you guys can too, at least for now. All right, let's look at the guided practice. I'm not worried about number 1. Let's see here. Number 2, how could you define an area? Let's see what some of you would use. How would you phrase that? How would you define an area? They're not talking about the formula for area, length times width. They're asking you, how would you define it? All right, number 3, it says find the area of a rectangle with the side lengths of 2/3 of a foot and 1/2. Okay, so here we have 2/3 and 1/2. Find the area, and they're talking about feet. So 2 times 1 is 2, 3 times 2 is 6, and that can be reduced. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 6 3 times, so what's 1/3 of a yard squared? And I could put that right here, 1/3 of a yard squared. Okay. All right. Number 4, find the area of a square with side lengths of 5/4 inches. Now, this one is kind of a tricky question. What are we trying to find the area of? We're trying to find the area of a square. And so if I was to draw a square here, okay, a square means all 4 sides have the same length. So if one side is 5/4 inches, then all the sides are 5/4 inches, or 5/4, and you could put the 2 little marks that represent inches also, 5/4 inches. All right. So, what's the formula to find the area of a square? It's the same thing. Length times width. Well, since all 4 sides are the same, it's going to be 5/4 times 5/4. The length and the width are the same. 5 times 5 is 25. 4 times 4 is 16. So 25/16 inches squared. That's number 4. All right. Independent practice. It says find each area. Okay, I think, oh my gosh. Well, yeah, they got to be talking about, I'm looking at number 5, for example. They got to be talking about the area that's shaded in blue. So number 5 would be what? 1/4. I mean, otherwise, I don't know why they would shade anything in blue. It's 1/4 times 1/2. Okay, so that's going to be 1/8 of a foot squared. So number 5 is 1 1/8 feet squared. Okay, so just the shaded area is what they're talking about. So remember, area is length times width. You guys can do these. Number 11, 12, and 13, find the area of a rectangle with side lengths of, you can do that one. Number 12, find the area. Okay, there we go, a square. They're talking about a square. So that means all 4 sides are going to be 3/8 of an inch. Don't get fooled. Don't get confused. So it's going to be 3/8 times 3/8. Number 13, find the area of a rectangle with a side length of centimeters. So it's going to be something centimeters squared. That's going to be your answer. Okay? Without the question mark, you have to figure it out. Okay, 14. Roy and Tom are working on a multiplication problem. Roy claims that 7/4 times 3/8 is 21/32. Tom claims that the correct answer is 21/8. Okay, Tom has hit his head. And who is correct? Well, it's Roy. And explain your answer. Well, just explain why that one's correct. I mean, how do you How do you multiply fractions together? You multiply straight across. Well, I just kind of gave it to you. Emilio, I'm looking at number 15, needs to know how much area to clear for his son's square sandbox. Okay, there's the clue. Square, so they're only giving you one length, 3/4 of a yard. You can figure that one out. 16, Margaret purchased a doormat measuring a half yard by 2/3 yard for a back step. Okay, so if the step is 1/4 yard square, will the mat fit? Well, so the first thing you have to do is what? 1/2 times 2/3. And then if it's well, gosh, would they consider it fitting if it was bigger than 1/4 square yard? It should be the same size or a little less. Maybe I'm making it too complicated. Anyways, just see if the mat will cover at least 1/4 square yard. If it's too big, it's not going to fit. Well, we'll see what we come up with here. 17, each person on a Ferris wheel pays $6.50 for a ticket. There's 72 passengers. How much money is collected from all the passengers? Well, that's easy to figure out. 18, Kim is installing a blue and white tile in her bathroom. She made the diagram layout showing the area of both colors. Write 2 expressions that describe the area of the blue tile. So just the blue is what you're figuring out. They don't give us what each tile is. Is that inches? And how many inches? Or is it feet? Well, a foot would be a big tile. So let's just say, for argument's sake here, it's inches. Okay. In fact, let's say each little blue tile is 2 inches. So in other words, like this one right here, that's 2 inches. And so another one would be what? 4 inches, 6 inches, 8 inches. That's all the help you're getting from me. You have to figure the rest out. Number 19, Wilhelmina. Wilhelmina. What a name. Have any of you ever known somebody named Wilhelmina? I think I did. Many, many years ago in Fresno, there was a girl in my high school. I think her name was Wilhelmina. That's a really unusual name, I think. Anyway, she has 8.3 ounces of peanut butter if she makes 5 sandwiches with an equal amount of peanut butter on each. How much peanut butter does she put on each one? Oh, we're talking about division here. So for number 19, 5 sandwiches, 8.3 divided by 5. Well, we were doing that last chapter, dividing and multiplying with decimals. All right. 20, Irene buys a talking doll for $10.66. I wonder if they sell dolls that say, do your homework. Wouldn't that be a great doll to have? Just a doll with long hair and pretty eyes. And she speaks and says, do your homework. Like that. And then, yeah, I think we could make a lot of money if we could sell a doll like that. That would be amazing. So anyways, let's see here. Irene buys a talking doll for $10.66. Batteries for $4.22. She pays with a $20 bill. It says estimate how much change. Forget the estimation here. I just want to know the exact answer. You guys can do that. 21 and 22, I'm not worried about. Okay, that's it. I will see you guys someday again soon.